Alright, this one's going to be boring to a lot of people, but I think it's actually really important to go over force feedback in general. I've gone through a bunch of years trying to make video games in the past for drifting, and I always thought the problem was the tire model. Now I've finally reached the point where I firmly believe that the issue with most video games is not the tire model and not the physics, but the force feedback system. You'll see on the screen here is a bunch of gobbledygook and a bunch of code. Anybody who doesn't know code, anything that's green here is stuff that I tried and then I've just nicked out. And it's really interesting to think about force feedback. I'm going to be really, really freaking nerdy in this one, just so you know. When you turn the steering wheel naturally in a real car tries to force you back to center. And when you're drifting, or even driving a car normally, what is considered center for the steering wheel is it shifts, it changes. And originally, the way that I've seen most other force feedback systems and what I implemented here, you'll see right here, it takes the first two wheels, the front left, front right, and then gets what's called the normalized load. Don't worry about the word normalized, just think about the overall load between the two wheels. And so what a lot of this code was doing was, whichever wheel has the most force on it, turn the steering wheel towards that direction. So if you think you're turning right, and you're putting more force on that front left wheel, then that means the steering wheel will want to turn a little bit more to the left. And that made a lot of sense to me. It really did. The problem is twofold. The first one is at high speeds, where you're putting high loads on the tire, just doing minor corrections, the whole car would just waver and fly off. And I think that's why a lot of video games, you see the cars just kind of be unstable, and they have a lot of aids to kind of keep you in. So I firmly believe that a lot of video games nanny these things, and I'm trying to give the most honest feedback to the driver as possible here. The other problem was that when you're going too slow, the feedback gets really numb. And this is a problem I'm still having with my current implementation, but it's just that there's not enough momentum in the wheels, there's not force into the wheels, that there isn't that much of a difference between the two, so the steering wheel gets really numb. So my current implementation, which I'm still not entirely sure I'm right on this one, I'm not a physics guy, I don't have a PhD or anything in physics, but I'll explain a little bit of the code here. So first thing I'm doing is I'm getting the vehicle's rigid body, and that's just game terms for the physical object. And then through this line here, I am extrapolating how many degrees is the current trajectory of the vehicle. So again, when you're turning right, the car is going in a rightward direction. And when you turn more, it feeds back towards that. And then I convert to a 1-to-1 range here, just to simplify things. I'm clamping at 90 degrees, so if you're trying to do backies or something like that, I might need to fix that one later, but I don't know how to do backies off the top of my head. And I'm doing a little, don't worry about a lot of this stuff. And then the centering force is what you want to pay attention to here. So the centering force is literally where the car decides center is in comparison to where your steering wheel is, and then applies a force to it. Don't worry too much about the 100F. 100 is the maximum amount of force feedback that the wheels can give you. That's like 100% effort. So take the difference between your current steering position and the desired center point, the desired steering position, and then scale it up towards what the game is expecting. So far, so good. This seems to be mostly working. Sorry, Woody's probably going to fall off here. So if I load up the game here, any second now. There you go. So you'll notice that the bottom marker is where the steering wheel is, and then the top line here is where we want to be the desired center point. So when you're driving normally, it doesn't really stray too far from the center point. But when you're drifting, changes to the trajectory of the car. So far that seems to be working. I think I'm about right. If anybody knows more about physics than me, please let me know. I don't know. Alright, so... wow, I forgot to record a bunch of stuff. So as you can see, everything looks a little bit different. What I did was I decompiled Drift Playground and tried to run it this way because it's kind of apples to apples with the Seto. I can see how things actually feel and to make sure the force feedback's right. And for the most part, force feedback's in the ballpark. You know, I don't have things like friction modifiers where based on tire temperature or even contact patch, the grip is less or more, so you're kind of dealing with ultimate grip right now. It's not as amazing as I would like it to be, but also I installed what's called URP, Universal Rendering Pipeline, on this, so things look a lot better. Got a couple of filters and stuff on it. You can't see all of it right now, but we'll hop into it in a second. And let's just do a couple of test laps and see what the force feedback feels like. Let's see. Alright, first and foremost, I got positioning working, so now you can set yourself up in the car, although I still need to center. Let me center my screen. Center in, arrow keys to go left and right, and then you can use the page up and page down to move forward or backward. Should save that setting for you. No. Alright, let's see. Alright, I should be back. Alright, let's see. That was gonna hit one. Up display over there. Still working on that one. See if we can hit him. Oh, I missed. Hit that guy. Alright, so another thing I got working is multiplayer and what I call spectator mode. So first, we'll start. This is the regular game, this is the full game launcher. And when you first get in, you can do host, client, and server. And so what that does is it immediately puts you into the car, and you can start playing that way. Alright, so now that everything's loaded, I can connect to my existing server. Ta-da! And now I have what's called spectator mode. So this is what the free version of the game will look like. It's a prefab duder, so don't worry about him too much. But the idea is, I've now connected to the server where the car is. You can loosely interact with the car. You can like push it around sometimes, stuff like that. And you can, walk up to the spectators and they fall over for some reason. But the idea behind this is that you can, don't have to purchase the game and you can be a spectator and wander around the game and get some cool shots. Eventually I'm planning on putting in like drone mode and things like that, but in the meantime this is the basics. Whee! Oh, there's a big ditch over here. Eventually, I'd like to make this so that if you run into someone, you can ragdoll. I've only gotten multiplayer to work locally. I need playtesters to help me get this working on the internets. I'd like to find a way to make a dedicated server, but at the current time, it seems to be about the extent of what I have time for. So, if you think it's cool and you want to help out, I've got a GoFundMe to help buy the full pack, because right now you can only have one car at a time. And it'd be nice to be able to get some multiplayer servers going, more than just spectators. So I think that's kind of the next step of what I would like to do. But for right now, it's about all we can do. And maybe a better looking car model. The outside looks fine, the inside's just very low poly. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate everything, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.